Kill me now. I thought I was done with this, that's a polite word, person. But then he made this video. I was going to do a little one on his NASA one, but again, it's just assumptions of CGI and cables with no proof, no evidence, nothing. So no, I'm not delving into that rubbish again. But here's a video where he claims that the B-2 stealth bomber actually proves there aren't any satellites up there. Partly this is part one. But let's just delve into this. And I've seen the video, but I'm just going to go through it and point out the points on his misconceptions of how this thing works.
This is the stealth B-2 bomber.
Very observant of you. Did you Google that, did you?
An incredible plane.
Yeah, it generally is.
Amazing bit of kit.
Okay, calm down. You don't want to go to bed with it, do you?
You'll notice the jets are on top of the wing.
Yes.
Of course, it's to avoid detection. Of course,
yes, but not in the way that you think. Well, kind of, yes, but not in the way that you think.
The jets will be a heat source.
Yes, they are kind of heat source, but I'll get into the point of why that it's not as a major issue as you think.
So being on top of the wing, they are unable to be detected from the ground.
Yes, and no.
Hence it's called the stealth bomber.
Yes, but I think you're missing an aspect of detection that's more than looking at finding a heat source.
But here's the problem. By putting them
There is no problem.
on top of the wing, you're incredibly exposed to detection from above.
You see where he's going with this?
That's of course if there is something above.
There is, but technically they don't install radars pointing towards Earth in satellites in space, and I think you've been watching too many films in the sense that those kind of tracking satellites work. What's that film with Will Smith? You know, the one they track people. I don't think satellites like that really exist.
To be worried about in the first place. And based on this plane's design...
What do you want the thing to be? Do you want actually invisible technology? You want Wonder Woman's plane here or something?
And the fact it's a stealth bomber, and the fact it's positioned its jet turbines from the traditional position, which is below the wings.
Kind of. Sometimes they're in the middle, in a way.
To the stealth position, which is on top of the wings.
They're on top of the wings for a very specific reason, but it's not genuinely to do with heat detection. You're ignoring radar here.
Would suggest to me that they don't give a flying fuck.
A flying fuck. I like that pun, I have to admit. Yeah, you get a brownie point from me.
About being detected from above, i.e. satellites, probably and more likely because there's nothing above to be worried about by being detected by in the first place.
Yes, but what are you more likely to be hiding from? Ground-based radar systems? And any sort of, observational equipment used by the military? Or satellites? You have to choose. You have to choose one. And which ones can be easily detected? And how far away are most satellites? Well, most satellites are 400 or 500 miles high. Ground-based stuff are, well, they're on the ground, aren't they? And this thing's probably flying at about, these things probably go from 60, 70, 80,000 feet. So which one are you going to be more concerned about?
So has the B-2 bomber just blown to pieces the satellite pantomime being
No. And can you stop with the word pantomime, please?
pushed by the heliocentric fantasists?
Heliocentric fantasists.
Explain this to me.
Okay, I will. That's a very good insertion here to my video. Right? Yes, you do understand about the heat source. However, if you look at the B-2 bomber, right, its heat source, as you can tell from here, is clearly visible coming out of the goddamn exhausts. So if you had like proper infrared cameras, you'd still see it. However, these engines don't have afterburners on because they'll easily see, so they try and cut down the emissions so that the plane is harder to spot in that way. Because remember, to find something with heat detection, you'd have to be pointing at it. And so that means you'd have to find it first, right? But these planes are designed to avoid radar detection, which is why they have no, the engines aren't underneath, it's smooth underneath, so there's no hard edges underneath for the radar to bounce off of. Right, again, windows. The B2 windows have a fine wire mesh built into them designed to scatter radar. Composite materials. Any radar returns are reduced by the composite materials used which further deflect any signals. Carbon reinforced plastic. Special heat resistant materials near the exhaust mean the airframe absorbs very little heat. Rotary launch assembly. The RLA allows the B2 to deploy different weapons in succession. That's not interesting. Well, it is interesting, but it's not part of the point. 8D 500-pound bombs. Good grief, what a magnificent death machine. See, to further reduce the B2 signature, the engine's intakes are sunk into the main body. So basically, its exhaust plume isn't going to be that huge, but you'll still be able to see it. Landing gear doors. Landing gear doors are hexagonal to further break up the B2's radar profile. The crew compartment, the B2 said the flying wing. The B2 shape means there's very few leading edges, making it hard to detect on radar. And then fly-by-wire, basically because of its unstable shape, it has to have a computer running. Basically, it's a plane that can't glide. I think the Eurofighter Typhoon has the same issue, where basically if the computer shut down in the plane, it'll plummet. Engines. So the B2's 4 General Electric F11 F118s don't have afterburners, as heat these generate would make aircraft easier to detect. Note the word easier, so it's not impossible to detect in that sense. Max altitude 50,000 feet. So there we go, it only goes to 50,000 feet. Max speed, Mach 0.95, so 604 miles an hour. And you talk about NASA's budget, NASA's cost. This one plane costs 737 million. First deployment in 1993. It's a pretty futuristic looking ship for 1993, I have to admit. It's one of those things you dream of and you draw in, as a kid in your school book. Right? So yeah, it makes sense. So basically the exhausts are in here, so it sort of, I think, does something to the exhaust, scatters it so it is not very easily detectable, but it's all about the shape. And even if a radar hit this from the top, I don't think it's gonna be seen that well. Right? And like the Nazis figured this out. Right? Germany figured this out with this version of the bomber. This was found in a bunker somewhere in Germany at the end of the, well, after I think the end of the war. And they found it and actually found the blueprints for it, rebuilt the plane, right? They rebuilt it. Obviously this is a computer generated thing, this is. Yeah, see, this is the Americans, I think, who found it. This is the bits and bars, blah blah. But I remember watching a TV show on it. So here's the cockpit. Geez, they figured this stuff out back then. Holy crap, it's an incredible piece of thing. Right? Now, they put this in a... They tested radar on this and put it in a wind tunnel to check its sort of profile and see radar. And it actually significantly reduced radar detection. And as you can see, engines on the top. And this plane was probably being built in the latter stages of the war, so let's say probably built during 1944 and 1945. The first satellite was launched in 1957, which was Sputnik 1. So yeah, you're assuming why the engines are on top. Yes, there's a little bit of heat detection involved, which spreads heat detection and all this kind of thing, which makes it harder to track. But obviously, if you wanted to do heat detection, you'd have to point your camera at it, which would basically mean that the radar would have picked it up and basically spotted it, and then you found it. But like I said, this is to avoid radar detection, ground-based radar detection, which is the most common form of radar detection. It's all the things that ships have, you know, military bases have, all this kind of stuff. I don't think they attach radars to satellites, because first of all, they have to travel through Earth's atmosphere, which is just not going to work. You see? Again, more assumptions from you, my friend. Assumptions that don't make sense. I'm going to carry on the video.
Because this would be a dead giveaway.
No. How? Just because... What?
2 incredible heat sources on the top of a high altitude plane, incredibly close to satellites compared
Incredibly close to satellites compared
to normal aircraft.
Actually, no. Like I said, most satellites. Well, let's put it this way: satellites at the very least are higher than the ISS, and the ISS is what, 200 and let's have a look here. Height of ISS. So it's 408 kilometers high. Just do it in miles because I'm British. 254 miles high. Let's have a look. Height of nearest satellite. The International Space Station is for the Iridium. Satellites orbit at about 480 mile. Lower orbit also aid remote sensing satellites because of the added detail that can be gained. What height are satellites? Atmospheric drag, blah blah blah. 500, between 500 and blah, 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 blah. Well, let's do this then. Closest satellite to ISS. So, okay, I stand corrected. There are satellites that are lower than the ISS, but I'm guessing probably not many. ISS orbit, but 250 miles up is low, because I don't think anything that's lower than the ISS tends to not be up there for very long, as far as I'm aware. I think you can probably, you know, forgive me for just coming up with that little tidbit of information off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure, because even the ISS has to do frequent sort of speed boost to stay in orbit, so anything that's lower than that, I'm guessing, would have to fall out there, so they're probably temporary satellites. And a lot of satellites are higher than that, so you don't see them from ISS looking down, maybe sideways. Yeah, there we go, blah blah. Anything like that. So yeah, there we go. So, like I said, what you're suggesting is the reason for its design isn't really the reason for its design. And again, it's another assumption on your part to, you know, why would they? Yeah, I'm not even going to go there. You know what I mean? Right, that's another video for me done. Let's wait for the next part of his video. There we are. Okay. I hope to see you all again. Keep safe. Have a nice evening. Good night.